Hey, Buck Nation, Buck you here. And today I want to do something a little different. I am going to categorize all 32 teams and label them as contenders, which are championship teams or championship caliber teams or teams that compete for a championship. Pretenders, teams that make the playoffs, but they always fall short, or they have expectations, but we know they're not going to live up to them. And rebuilding, teams that are rebuilding, they gave away their good players, or they're just horrible and they need some pieces to help them contend. So, that being said, the first team I'm going to bring up is the Philadelphia Eagles, who are currently undefeated. And Jalen Hurts is an MVP candidate for sure. And you can even say he's a front runner for MVP. Last time a team went undefeated, the quarterback won MVP in 2007, Tom Brady. And the team went to the Super Bowl. So enough said. But it's crazy how Jalen Hurts, last year when he lost to the Buccaneers in the playoffs in the wild card, they were saying he wasn't a leader, he wasn't ready. But now, all of a sudden, a year later, he is an MVP candidate. I've never seen somebody transform in 1 year to an elite quarterback. So good for the Eagles and good for Jalen Hurts. The Packers are a pretender. Aaron Rodgers, he needs to move on. He is devoid of talent. They can't beat anyone. If you look at Aaron Rodgers' stats, you will say, or you will think that he is a contender. His team have a better record, but there's no consistency. The Giants, New York Giants, are a pretender. I know the Giants got off to a hot start, and they are 6-2, but they should be 8-0. They lost to teams by one possession. They could have beat the Cowboys. They could have beat the Seahawks. But in the end of the day, Daniel Jones is their quarterback. But Saquon is back, and they still have Kenny Golladay, who has not contributed, and they traded Kadarius Toney to the Chiefs. The Buffalo Bills are contenders. Josh Allen is an MVP candidate. And like every year, he seems to be in the conversation for MVP. Stephon Diggs is the best receiver in the AFC. Enough said. The New England Patriots are pretenders. They beat the Jets yesterday, a division game, but they're still last in the division, and Matt Jones has not been good for this team at all. The Buccaneers are contenders. Okay, I'm kidding. We're pretenders. We're pretenders. If you look at Tom Brady's stats, like Aaron Rodgers, you'll think that we are, a top-tier team. I mean, Brady only has 1 interception to 9 touchdowns. But we lose to these bad teams, and then we lose to good teams. And also injuries has hurted us. And Giselle has took half of our offense in a divorce. And Thursday night, we lost to the Ravens when we was up, and we should have won that game. Chicago Bears are rebuilding, especially after what happened Sunday. Their defense is rebuilding. Justin Fields is just not a good quarterback, and they have bad coaching. The Denver Broncos are pretenders. The Russell Wilson experience has not worked at all. He was supposed to be the main piece, the missing piece, but it seems like everything has been evolving around Russell Wilson and not in a good way. And he was supposed to be the savior, and it's not worked, so they need to all come together and figure it out for the second half of the season. The 49ers are contenders. They're contenders. Jimmy G has returned and saved his team. I know they got Christian McCaffrey, and they just beat the Rams in a divisional game, and now there's life in the 49ers. They almost traded Jimmy G, and now he's come back and he has given his team a new spark. And also Deebo Samuel is still doing Deebo Samuel things. The Minnesota Vikings are contenders. Justin Jefferson is probably the best receiver in all of football, and he's making Kirk Cousins' life a lot easy. The Vikings are on a 5-game winning streak, and they can make noise in the playoffs with Justin Jefferson getting better and better each game. The Seahawks are rebuilding. I get it. Geno Smith is becoming the comeback player of the year and everything, and that's nice and good, but it's still Geno Smith. I don't trust him. The Seahawks, they won the game. Geno Smith had 212 yards and 2 touchdowns. Maybe I'm wrong, but I do think the Seahawks need an actual franchise quarterback to reach the levels they want to reach. The Kansas City Chiefs are contenders. Pat Mahomes is either a magician, or the best quarterback in the league. The Chiefs are 5-2. They just destroyed the 49ers, and Pat Mahomes should be in the MVP conversation as usual. The Las Vegas Raiders are pretenders. They have been a disappointment. Devontae Adams has not lived up to expectations or to his contract, and they're probably the best weapon on the offense is Josh Jacobs, who was top 5 in the league in rushing. But they lost, and they just lost. They lost to the Saints in a shutout. Miami Dolphins are contenders. I know I said Stephon Diggs is the best receiver in the AFC, but I think it could be Tyreek Hill now. This man almost had a 200-yard game yesterday, and yes, it was against the Lions, but this man he's been a game changer for this team, and he's made the Dolphins a contender. Tua is back, and he's also improving even after his concussion. And they also had the biggest win of the season against the Ravens with the comeback win. Speaking of the Ravens, they're contenders. I know the Ravens fans have to be frustrated because their record, it should be better than what it is, but they cannot hold on to leads in the fourth quarter. They lose leads in the fourth quarter, especially the game against Miami. Even after all that, even all their losing in the fourth quarter and blowing leads, they're still number 1 in their division. The Washington Commanders are rebuilding. Carson Wentz is just a stopgap for them. And Terry McLaurin is still underrated, but they need help really bad. New Orleans Saints are rebuilding. Ever since Drew Brees retired, they have been rebuilding. Yes, they got Mike Thomas, Alvin Kamara, but they have James at the quarterback, and the defense has not been good at all. The Lions are rebuilding, obviously. They have been trash, as usual. Only good thing is they don't have Kenny Galladay. They shipped that problem to the Giants, and with the trade deadline coming up, they might send TJ Hawkinson, and they might be tanking, but kudos to Jared Goff, who's having a solid season. Carolina Panthers are rebuilding. They lost a close one and the Baker Mayfield experience has not been working. They traded Rob Anderson. They traded Christian McCaffrey. They fired their head coach, so they're just rebuilding, and they're going nowhere fast. Jacksonville Jaguars are rebuilding. I mean, we know everything with this team is going to start and stop with Trevor Lawrence. And the Jags they're playing a long game. They traded James Robinson to the Jets, and they're just waiting for Trevor Lawrence to develop, and they're trying to surround him with as much talent as possible. The Jets are a pretender. I know they're 5-3, but they're not contending. They're a wild card team, and that's all. But Sauce Gardner has been more than advertised, and he is the best player in that defense. The Cardinals are pretenders. This team, they always play good enough to get into the playoffs, but then they falter. And even yesterday with D-Hop having a 12-catch, 159 yards in the touchdown game, but they had a muff punt, and Kyler Murray had 2 interceptions, and now the Cardinals are sitting at 3-5. The Browns are rebuilding. They're a team that had a plan, but it all went to hell. They play a must-win against the Bengals, and the only bright spot is that Nick Chubb is the leading rusher, and they might trade Kareem Hunt. The Bengals are contenders. They have not had the season that they hope they had, but you can say Super Bowl hangover, even though they lost. They got a game against the Browns where they can take advantage of and boost their standings in their division, and they still got Joe Burrow as quarterback. The Rams are pretenders. This is a team, they got Super Bowl hangover. They're experiencing it, and they lost a game yesterday, a divisional game, that is, and Matt Stafford, it just don't seem to be himself. But they have to pick it up if they want to defend the crown. But Matt Stafford is having a very bad season. The Titans are contender. Anytime you got King Henry, you got a chance. He's the most complete back in the NFL with size, strength, and speed, and he is a home run hitter. The Chargers are pretenders. I know they got a championship roster on paper, but they're not a championship team. Yes, and Khalil Mack has been a big help. He had 6 sacks on the season, but he lost to the Seahawks. But Justin Herbert is continuing to prove that he's one of the elite quarterbacks in the NFL and in the AFC. Texans are rebuilding. Ever since Deshaun left, they've been rebuilding. This is a team that need to build through the draft, because people are not going to just pick the Houston Texans to come play for the Texans. And Davis Mills is not a long-term future quarterback. Atlanta Falcons are rebuilding, but they're number 1 in their division. And that just shows how bad the NFC South is. They're rebuilding and they're number one there. And that means that this division is so bad, anybody can win it. You can go on a 3-game winning streak and clinch the division, basically. Marcus Mariota has been good. I mean, he's been good at expectation. He's still proving that he is still a starter in this league. Dallas Cowboys are pretenders. I know every time the Cowboys look good and they have a high seed in the playoffs, they never finish the job. And they always disappoint. They have too much expectations. But they destroyed the Bears. And I haven't seen the Cowboys play this good since last year against the Commanders. I think it was week 17, last game of the season. But it's official. Tony Pollard is he's the feature back. There's no more Zeke Elliott in Cowboy land. And Michael Parsons is going to be Defensive Player of the Year for this season. Pittsburgh Steelers are rebuilding. Ever since Big Ben retired, they're rebuilding. They got destroyed by the Eagles, who are undefeated. And I feel Najee Harris is not getting enough touches. And it could play a big role in this team success. Kenny Pickett is not the answer, as he only has 2 touchdowns and 8 interceptions, and he's starting to look like Ryan Leaf out there. And the Colts, they're pretenders. The addition of Matt Ryan has not been as good as has been advertised. He's turnover prone with 9 interceptions, but they're second in their division with just 3 wins. They play the Patriots next week, so they can use this win to help their seeding, and we'll see how it goes from there. And that's all for 32 teams. Thank you guys for listening. Like, subscribe, comment, and I will talk to you guys later.